It's story time for some of the worst movie theater experience I've ever had in my entire life. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. So today I'm detailing all of the worst movie theater experiences I've ever had. Check out my video talking about my favorite movie experiences for a more positive video. Also, these are not in any specific order. It's not like a top 10. These are just in a random order talking about the worst theatrical experiences I've ever had to endure. So before I get into this thing, be sure to hit that like button, comment down below your worst movie theater experiences you've ever had, subscribe and hit that notification bell to help me reach my goal of 85,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would mean a lot. And check out my Patreon link down below for extra content as well as the Discord server. Your support goes a long way over there. Alright, so let's just dive right into this. The first one is an oldie, Race to Witch Mountain, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. At the time when I saw this movie, it was in the Dollar Theater. This was back when movies would run longer in theaters, and so this was the Dollar Theater where you pay like $1 to go see the movie in theaters. And I was there, and it was going fine. And I think we made it to almost the third act of the movie, and the power goes out. That's never what you want to happen in a movie theater, because we ended up missing parts of this movie. It's not like they rewound it or anything. So for like 2 minutes, or at least a solid minute and a half, the power was out, and it was just weird. It was like a pretty full theater, surprisingly, and I was with some of my friends at the time, and like our parents were in the back because they also wanted to see the movie. It was just bizarre that the power went out in the movie. Imagine that. If that hasn't happened to you, you're already in a dark place, but the screen goes dim and all the lights go down, so you're in complete darkness in a room full of strangers. You're supposed to be watching a movie, so not only does it make it creepy because you never know what could happen in a dark auditorium full of strangers, but at the same time, you're missing some of the movie that you paid to see. All around, I barely remember this movie anyway. Like, I haven't thought about it in years, but I do remember the power going out, and that's kind of what I always associate with this movie starring The Rock. So there you have it. The next one on this list is Ratatouille. This is another one where I was super young, and I actually saw this movie in theaters with my family. It came out in 2007. I was 7 or 8 years old at the time, depending on when it came out in that year. But regardless, there was a baby in the theater. This is the worst recollection I have of there being like a screaming, crying baby in the theater. It got so bad that like someone yelled out like, "Take it to the lobby," and I think they finally got up and left, thankfully, because God, it was disruptive. Obviously, I still love this movie and I enjoyed my theatrical experience, but it was tainted ever so slightly because someone brought a crying baby into the theater, and after a few initial cries, just decided not to walk out. Like, that's the rudest thing you can do, is go to a theater with a kid, and then that kid acts a fool, and you just don't leave the theater. You don't care about anyone else. It's so awful, honestly. Like, that's so rude. That is so rude, and I hate when people do that. This next one is minor. It was when I saw Tenet round 2. I saw it the opening night, and I went immediately the next night to see it again because I had to experience it again. And the movie played fine, and literally the entire time all was well. And then at the very end of the movie, the most important scene in the movie, when Robert Pattinson's character is talking to John David Washington's character, this revelation, essentially, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it. This dude gets a phone call, and he's got his ringer on, and it's ringing super loud. It's worse because he's in like the second row of the theater. He picks up the phone and starts having a conversation over the important conversation that's happening on screen, and it was such a dick move. Like, if I hadn't seen this movie, I would have been pissed off. I'm so glad that it was round 2, because if that was the first time I'd experienced Tenet and some asshole picked up his phone in the front row and started talking out loud over the movie, I would have been enraged. I can't believe people ever have the audacity to pick up a phone call in a movie theater. It's happened a few times. Like, I can't remember the other specific examples. This is the one that's sort of representative of all the times that's happened to me. Fortunately, a lot of the experiences I have on this list are actually round 2s, so that's a good thing. At least I've seen the movie once, so people being such distractors doesn't inhibit my viewing experience as much, at least. This next one's interesting because it had nothing to do with people being disruptive. It had nothing to do with the movie having playback issues or anything, but the movie was Christopher Robin. I went and saw this, and I kid you not, I almost passed out in the theater because it was so hot. The entire time, the movie theater was a little toasty, and there was no airflow at all. When I got up to leave the movie, and Cam and I went and we sat near the back of the theater, when we got up to leave, there was a dude standing at the bottom. He was like, "Was it hot as hell in there, or was it just me?" I was like, "No, I almost passed out." I think I sweat through my shirt entirely. It was like a sauna in there, and that just made the movie feel longer, and honestly probably took away my enjoyment of Christopher Robin. Like, I haven't watched it since then. I was like, it was fine, but I guarantee you if I watched it in a normal room temperature setting, I probably would have been able to enjoy this movie more, or at least been more positive on it than I was, because it was a sauna in there. And I just remember it being so damn hot. And that happens more than you think. At a Regal theater near where I live, if you get in certain auditoriums, there's literally no airflow at all. It's the most stuffy box of an auditorium I've ever been in. This was an AMC I went to, and it was like a good AMC, and for some reason, it was just hot as hell. They must have been having air conditioning issues, because that was brutal. These next two are both similar because it involves kids running around out of control. The first is very recent. This was in June. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Round 2. It's unfortunate enough that this movie's volume is already so low in certain theaters. Like the first time I saw Across the Spider-Verse, the volume was super low, and I went for Round 2, and I was distracted by these idiots in the front row, like the second or first row. There was like 4 kids. I'd probably say they were 12 or 13, like young teenagers, and they thought they were being hilarious, just talking during the movie, pretty much nonstop. It was so irritating, and it got to a point where they would like make noises out loud to like try and make the auditorium laugh. It's almost as if they thought they were in their 7th grade classroom and just thought they were the class clowns or something. The only difference is there's discipline there because there's a teacher who can shut them up. Here, it's the public or being an ass in front of all these people who paid money to go see a movie, and it's just so disrespectful. There were times where they would shine their phone flashlight, fake sneeze. Like, I don't know what they were doing. They were just making a ruckus. Some of them were getting up and walking around. It was like, what are you doing? You're being a disruptor to everyone here who's spending time out of their day to watch a movie and escape into this entertainment, and it's a great movie. It's Across the Spider-Verse, and you guys are just being total assholes. It was so unfortunate. I'm very glad that I'd already seen the movie once, and it wasn't like it was incessant the whole time, but it was pretty much every 5 to 10 minutes they would try out some new gag and try and be funny, and it was not clicking. I almost got up and said something. I've never done that, but I almost got up and walked up to them and be like, you guys are being extremely disrespectful. Please be quiet. We're trying to watch the movie. That probably would have shut them up. I feel like a lot of times it just takes one person like getting the guts to go say something to somebody. Nonetheless, I didn't say anything. They eventually shut up, but pretty much the whole movie they were annoying, and then at the end goes to black in the credits and they were like screaming out. It was annoying. And the experience I had that is similar to this is when I saw Space Jam: A New Legacy. And the kicker here is that I went to a press screening of this, but it was one that was mixed with general audiences, and everyone was like, oh, free movie. So it was a packed house. There was a reserved section for press. There was also a section for people who just found the free tickets online or whatever. And there was a ton of kids there. Like the theater, the auditorium, the entire time, I'm not kidding, there was talking the entire time from different sections. Little kids just having conversations, parents talking. It was very distracting. The movie wasn't good, and unfortunately it's a Space Jam movie that's really a shell of the first Space Jam film, so it's not like I had to be giving it my all attention-wise, but there was just kids walking up and down the aisles, talking. There was no parental supervision. It was a disruptor. It really was. Fortunately, it was just Space Jam 2, so I'm not that mad about it. But if you're going to bring a kid to a movie, you've got to watch over them. And you can't just let them run around like it's the playground. It's a movie theater, and I'll never understand that. This next one is extremely recent, and it was sort of disturbing in a way. I went and saw Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Round 2 yet again. So fortunately, I'd already seen the movie the first time, but I told this story on a live stream recently. So me and Cam go see the movie. It's her first time seeing it and my second time. So when you walk in, you know, the auditorium, usually walk out, it's almost like a tunnel, and then you come out and there's the middle walkway. There's usually a few rows of seats in the front by the screen, a gap for a walkway, and then the rest of the auditorium. Well, on that little walkway, there's usually a row of seats that are reserved for handicap. We're in the row right behind that, and we're in the middle of the theater. You know, previews are on, whatever. This couple walks in and they have a son, and the son is in a wheelchair. So they come up and they sit in the front row, and it's fine, no issue. They put headphones on the son, I assume to be noise canceling headphones. And one of the previews is a little loud, and the kid like yells out or whatever, and I was like, interesting, okay. And so the movie starts, and if you've seen Dead Reckoning Part 1, it's a loud movie. It's an action movie. Well, there's a submarine opening early on, and there's moments in the movie that are loud, and the kid just reacted to it. He was like screaming out loud. The whole theater could hear it. Like he was clearly not wanting to be there, not having a good time, or in discomfort or pain. What does the mother of this child do? Shoves her hand over his mouth to try and muffle him like he's a dog or something. It was honestly disturbing. I was like, what? I looked over at him, I was like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? Then it got quiet and it was fine for a bit, but the kid was clearly in discomfort. He started making more noises. And so the dad left the theater, came back with like a bag or something. They put another pair of noise-canceling headphones over the first pair of noise-canceling headphones. Not only would that be uncomfortable for anyone, 2 pairs of headphones, imagine how tight that could be on you. But that's not how noise canceling headphones work. It's not like it's gonna be double the amount of headphones. It was really confusing. And so then they gave him an iPad and turned him around to the rest of the audience. So now the kid's looking at us on his iPad. There's a glow from this iPad hitting the roof of the auditorium. And I was just like, I leaned over to the camera, I was like, look, do you want to just leave and watch this movie again? This is just distracting. Like, I've already seen the movie, but I feel bad because I want you to be able to experience this, and this is just rude of these parents. And so then, obviously, another action scene ensues not long after, because it is a Mission Impossible movie, and the kid's, like, flailing, screaming at this point, and so they got up and left and didn't come back in, and it was relieving because it was the first 15 minutes of the movie, so we didn't, miss much. It wasn't a disruption the whole time. But more important than any of that, that's like borderline abusive, right? I mean, the fact that they were like muffling this child like it was an animal and like shoving headphones on the kid's head. It was like really unsettling to watch. I was like, I feel bad for the kid really more than anything else. So it was something, and it's unfortunate. I don't know why they didn't leave initially, or it was weird. I'm not here to judge these people's circumstance. I don't know them, but it was bizarre and it was uncomfortable to witness. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And I saved this next one for last intentionally. Unfortunately for me, I can get pretty anxious in movie theaters. Ever since, in 2012, The Dark Knight Rises, there was a theater shooting in America. And that freaked me out when I was like 12 or 11 when that happened. It freaked me out. So ever since I've gone to the movie theater, I'm always a little on edge. No matter what, I'm usually always on a little edge. I'm kind of inspecting everybody, monitoring like a route if I need to try and dip out of the theater or whatever. And so I'm always got eyes on people. I'm like that in most public places. I usually like to keep an eye out for people just to be aware of my surroundings. I think that's a good quality to have. So Cam and I go to Black Panther opening night. This is February 2018. Right, we get there early. People are walking in. I'm looking at everybody, like eyeing them, being like, is this person sketchy? This dude walks in and he's got a backpack on. Anytime someone has a backpack, I'm always like, okay, whatever. Interesting. But the kicker here is this: the movie starts and the guy walks down about 15 to 30 minutes into the movie. And he does the thing that makes me so uneasy. He walks down and he's like standing at the bottom of the aisle, but like it's not like he's in the tunnel so like people can't see us. I was so distracted because I knew he had a backpack on. I was like, does this guy have a bomb? Does he have a gun? Like, I'm serious. I was thinking this. I was like, what is gonna happen? Then he just walked out, and I don't know if he ever walked back in, honestly, but I can say this: that ruined my entire experience for Black Panther. It had me so on edge. This sketchy looking dude was like wearing a big jacket too. I'm pretty sure he was wearing a jacket and had a backpack with like colored hairs, like standing at the bottom of the auditorium. It tripped me out bad, and honestly, it freaked me out. Like, I was like, is something about to happen? I got this feeling in the pit of my stomach, and it sucks that we live in a world where that exists. And if you guys feel that, let me know. But like, the fact that I can't go to a movie theater and feel 100% at ease sometimes is the worst feeling ever. And it sucks that the world is that way, and that we have to be sort of aware of things. And this goes for even going to school. Like, it's scary, honestly, but you can't live in fear, I guess, but at the same time got to be sort of cautious of your surroundings, and this theatrical experience was weird. So anytime there's a sketchy dude or someone walking around the theater all weird, I'm eyeing them. It's unfortunate, but that's pretty much the way I'm always going to be. Just really want to be aware of my surroundings in the movie theater, and Black Panther's the first one where it's like, is something about to happen? Like, I got scared because this dude had a backpack and was like monitoring. He was like walking real slow. It was weird. Really, really off-putting. But anyway, those are just my worst movie theater experiences that I can recall. I'm sure there's more because honestly, I'd say 1 out of every 3 to 4 movies, there's some sort of disruption. People just go to the theater and act like it's their personal, movie room, and it's unfortunate. But I think that is a big reason as to why a lot of people just don't go to the movies anymore and wait till it's on streaming or digital, because you can watch it in the comfort of your own home and it's cheaper and all that. So I can't blame anyone who doesn't go to the theater anymore. And a big reason is because people just don't know how to behave. But that does it for my worst movie theater experiences. Let me know yours in the comments down below, and be sure to hit that like button. If you want a more positive spin on this, check out my favorite movie theater experiences. That is linked down below and up above. But thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Stay tuned for more content coming very soon. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.